ahead until 4 days before launch last Saturday. And on the day before the mission, NASA tried to get the Russians to delay liftoff due to computer problems on the International Space Station. During testimony before the House Subcommittee on Space and Aeronautics on Wednesday, NASA Administrator Dan Goldin indicated that the frictions haven't been smoothed over. Quote, "The current situation has put an incredible stress on the men and women of NASA," Goldin said. "They're dedicated to safety, and Mr. Tito does not realize the efforts of thousands of people in the U.S. and Russia that are working to protect his safety and the safety of everyone else, taking extraordinary means." After Tito's return to Earth, NASA will seek reimbursement from the Russians for any costs caused by construction delays or lost working hours on the station. You know, this is just absolutely, it's getting absolutely ridiculous. This is an American up there, an American with a past with NASA, the early days of NASA. What the hell are we doing? I mean, really, what are we doing? Remember I told you I was going to, on somebody's suggestion, Richard's or somebody's, that I would try and get hold of Tito and see if we could do an interview. And I knew it was going to be a low probability thing. And sure enough, it has been. We contacted Tito's representative first, and he said, "You'll have to talk to NASA." So we talked to NASA, and NASA said, "You're going to have to call the Russians." And they gave us the number in Russia. And we'll follow up with that, you know. But what's going on here? This man goes a long way back with NASA himself. He is an American. We have the biggest monetary investment in the International Space Station as Americans. We do. So what the hell's wrong with an American going up to the space station? I don't get it. I just don't get it. And to me, it's an embarrassment that in a request to try and talk to an American on the International Space Station, NASA just says you're going to have to talk to the Russians. I mean, what kind of attitude is that, really? What an embarrassment for NASA. As far as, I mean, what a real embarrassment for NASA, in my opinion. Sure, Grumbly's up there, I guess. But he's there. I mean, we put an American school teacher up there, remember? Or we tried. Blew up. But it's not as though occasionally a civilian shouldn't be allowed on the space station. It's a lot of taxpayer money up there. What's wrong with having a civilian up there? I mean, particularly if he pays his own way. And he has to go to our prior enemies, the Russians, to buy his way up there. And then after that, it's nothing but trouble. And an American broadcasting network wants to talk to an American. And so the American agency, NASA, says, no, you'll have to talk to the Russians. I think that's embarrassing for us. Just downright embarrassing. Several people suggested, well, I could do it by ham radio, and that's absolutely correct. I could do it by ham radio, but it would be not legal. You cannot use ham radio for commercial purpose, and so, yeah, it was a good idea, except the law doesn't allow it. I'm kind of angry with NASA. I think that's a really terrible attitude to take, and I don't know why they're taking it. As they pointed out in the article, they actually tried to delay the launch. Saying it was computers, you know, there's something wrong with this. What is wrong with the whole picture, huh? An American has to go to our former enemies to buy his way up to a space place that we own more of than anybody else. I mean, if you really want to break it down that way. I think that sucks. And then an American broadcasting company, granted NASA may not I may not have great favor at NASA, I understand that. But you would think they'd want to think really hard, wouldn't you? Before they say, oh no, you'll have to go talk to the Russians. I mean, we can't allow you to talk to an American over American communications equipment. Oh, come on, that just really sucks. There's something else going on here that has to do with I don't know what. Ego, security, something they're not telling us. Or arrogance. Maybe arrogance, huh? Are we so arrogant that we can't imagine somebody with Mr. Tito's background being in our precious space station? Only thoroughly and carefully trained NASA astronauts can do it? Hogwash. Old guys can go to the... Look, John Glenn, he went to the space station. Why not? Why not have a little democracy in space? What the hell's wrong with NASA? Sure is getting to me. And then here's something else getting to me, too. As you know, China announced that because of the airplane incident, they were going to have a week of Let's Hack American Government Sites. And I think last night I said, or was it the night before, recently, that all things considered, if there's going to be a war, which they're the ones who, they've declared it, that I think that they've made a very bad decision because I know our hackers. We have really good hackers in America. And as far as I'm concerned, screw them. I got this today from somebody, Mr. Bell. I was disappointed to hear the comments you made on the air the morning of May 3rd. Well, there you go, May 3rd. You were discussing computer attacks made by Chinese hackers on American websites. You warned the Chinese that if they wanted to start a war, that American hackers are much better than Chinese hackers, and you advised the Chinese to go right ahead and hack away. Well, of course, they're doing that. I just added that. The connotation was that American hackers would do much worse to the Chinese. First of all, I was very disappointed in the intolerant war-mongering attitude you displayed. Must you step right up to assume the typical American king of the world posture that is despised around the world? You need to step down from your ivory tower for a few moments and consider how this superior, holier-than-thou position makes you look to others. I'm sure you would not like to see the ArtBell.com site hacked into. I'll bet other website operators in the U.S. feel the same way. Well, look, first of all, this is from Thane in London, Canada. Well, Thane, I think you've got it all wrong, buddy. We didn't start it, but in American fashion, I was simply suggesting we can finish it. As far as hackers into our site, I've had plenty of hackers, some of the best hackers in the U.S. on the air. I think they're not very likely to hack away at my site, although it's hacked at all the time. That's the nature of big sites on the internet. They get hacked. Or let me put it this way: they're certainly attempted to be hacked. So that's something we put up with all the time. But we're talking about government sites here, for the most part. As far as I know, U.S. government sites being hacked, and civilian sites, I guess, by the Chinese. And so I say again, if they want to hack us, then fine. Their sites down the best way we can. And we've got some really good people at it. I know, I've talked to them. So from my perspective, screw the Chinese. They began the war. I'm of the view that, leave somebody else alone, and leave them alone, and let us all coexist and do our own thing and go our own way. But when somebody comes and kicks you in the shins, I'm all for kicking back, and I think we can kick back better. Yeah, there may be more Chinese, but trust me when I tell you, our hackers are the most sophisticated, hackers in the world. And I say, go get them. To hell with them. They started hacking us several days ago. Let's get them. Simple as that. They want a hacking war, they'll get a hacking war. So for whoever this is, Thane in London, Canada, you're just going to have to go on and be disappointed, I'm afraid. We'll be right back. Stay right where you are.
Now we take you back to the night of May 3rd, 2001, on Art Bell, Somewhere in Time.
Well, here's another story from the BBC on a mad deer disease in Colorado. The disease, which began in the wild now, is spreading to the farms. So the elk at Steve Wilcox's farm are at risk. It may be a problem when infected carcasses are brought back across the country, he said. I think that we have to be concerned about this material being able to infect other wild deer populations in other parts of the country. The disease is identical to BSE in the way it attacks the brain and nervous system of the deer. It cannot be detected until shortly before death. And now, the threat to humans. There is an additional cause for concern, the article goes on. Laboratory tests have shown that humans could contract this illness in the same way as BSE, although we have no cases thus far. From the Colorado Health Department's point of view at this point, the answers to these questions are unknown because of the BSE experience. It is theoretically possible, and based on that, there are some precautions that hunters may want to take. A farm in the mountains of Nevada may hold the key to the puzzle of mad deer disease. so that it is well-intentioned, trying to learn something about some disease. But if the equation is that some gene is going to, as we heard last night, jump from some newly created strain of wheat that keeps bugs away, that's going to jump to an animal, and then ultimately to a human, then we're going to eventually have some kind of disaster. And so I would hope that before approving the next experiment, and I'm anything but anti-science, whoever these risk assessment people are, they will assess more carefully and consider what we're doing. And I'm not against advancing science. I just don't want to end up with a moral dilemma. I don't want to end up with monsters. And I certainly don't want some worldwide disaster occurring because some scientist goes, oops, drop the vial. Isn't that the whole way Captain Trips thing began? Good morning. We'll take a break and then we'll do open lines at the top of the next hour. We're all going to take a trip to hell. A real trip to hell. I'm Art Bell, and this is Coast to Coast AM. Good morning, everybody, and I've got something very interesting for you this morning. I try to always have that, but if you go to my website, in the What's New section of my website, the first item is the disclosure conference notice about what Stephen Greer is going to be doing, Dr. Greer, and he'll be here tomorrow night to give you kind of a preview of an incredibly important event in Washington. So that's tomorrow night. But the second item down, I think you should take a look at. It says, weird whirlpool story on links page. Click on that and go down to the second set of links and click on weird whirlpool. And this really is pretty bizarre stuff. And I'd love to have your opinion of what we're seeing here. A strange phenomenon spinning off the coast of San Diego. Some say it comes from out of this world. And there's a picture of it there. It can be best described as a giant whirlpool caught on videotape off Black's Beach. A camera flying in a biplane shot the footage with his home video camera. And it is extraordinary, to say the least. And I guess you can get the actual video that he shot on this site. Oceanographers say they've never seen anything like it, but at least one expert says an unidentified underwater object might have caused the weird whirlpool. And then they go on to talk about flying saucers, UFOs, strange lights, and so forth and so on that people have seen in the area. But you've really got to see this. There's nothing on this earth short of a water spout that could do this, and obviously there is no weather anywhere close that would indicate there's a water sprout going on. So we've got this swirling going on in the water, this unaccountable swirling, and I'm wondering about all kinds of things. I'm wondering about an energy that could cause this. I'm wondering about the power that makes crop circles, which we found on dirt and in dust and all kinds of things. And if there could be some relationship to what we're seeing here, about a big whirlpool in the ocean for no apparent scientific discernible reason. Now that bears some study, and I'd suggest you go read the article, take a look at the video. It's, again, under What's New, and then it will take you to our links page, and you can go from there. But there's lots to wonder about with regard to this whirlpool. What would do that to the ocean? I mean, completely defeating the wave action, and it looks like a black hole in the water. Damnedest thing you ever saw. What would cause that? So, I've got a link up there. Keith got that up there a little earlier today, but that's really got me thinking. First time isn't it kind of stupid? The whole thing. This is an American who's up there, and to me, maybe there's something I really don't know, but we're acting like asses.
And the space station. I said to myself when I heard they were going to put it up and do it in a joint effort, thinking now this is the way the world should be, and here we go, and politics and money and everything. Like, gotta screw it up. So that's about it.
Oh, that'll do. Thank you very much. I could not agree with you more. I mean, it's really, we're acting like asses. Now, maybe we're not properly telling our side of the story. Maybe there's some side of the story that I just haven't heard. I don't know. But the whole attitude about this is all wrong. All wrong. Tito, as I said, he's not exactly just a civilian with money. He had a lot of training with NASA. He goes way back with NASA. And he had to go to our former enemy, and that galled me to buy his way up to the place where we are. And then once there, NASA can't see its way to let us use a channel of communication to communicate with him. They've got to send us to Russia to do that. I think it's embarrassing for us. Really embarrassing. That's what we got told by NASA. The Russians. Doesn't that kind of stink? I mean, east of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Well,
Yes, hi.
oh, hello. I'm Caleb, and I'm calling from Birmingham WERC 960.
Yes, sir.
I had a couple of ideas that may interest you. One is about the location of the actual pale, and I'm a Christian myself, and I heard this from a very reliable source, and it's from a doctor. Well, I think he's a doctor. Anyway, you know about the black holes in space, right?
Sure.
All right. Well, you know how like they can suck up suns, and they
They can eat suns, they can absorb light, bend light toward them, a lot of things.
Yes, sir. And see, the suns inside, there's no way that the heat can escape, so it grows hotter and hotter in there, and so that's like millions of
So you're thinking hell's in a black hole, maybe?
Well, yeah, because the Bible does say that there'll be eternal darkness, and that there'll be I can't remember the number, but some number of times hotter than the sun, our sun, and that's a very interesting idea, I think, and I don't know. But I also had another interesting idea a while ago when I was listening to you while I was calling you, whenever you mentioned the thing about Tito in space and how the computers, like they had a computer problem before he went up to space and they had to delay it, they asked him to delay it,
Yes, the Russians said no one launched.
Well, then you mentioned the 1986 explosion of the teacher. The teacher was on board.
The Challenger, yes.
Yeah, I was on it too when that happened, but a year or 2 years ago, I learned a little bit about it. I don't know too much about it, but I'm trying to be paranoid or anything here, but what do you think the possibilities of that maybe someone at NASA or some heads of NASA maybe have staged that explosion because of a civilian doing? Yeah, that's...
I don't buy into that.
Yeah, that was just a thought that came to mind. I mean, can't...
Okay, let me just put it to you out straight. NASA's doing some stuff that's pretty screwed up, but they're not murderers. I know there are people that have said such things, but I'm not one of them. No, not a chance, not in my mind. However, this attitude that they have right now is just ridiculous. It's embarrassing for the United States in every way, every step of the way here. It's embarrassing. To me, it's embarrassing that one of our own has to go to a former enemy, buy his way up there, then essentially get snubbed up there with Golden making all kinds of catty remarks. And then we're a pretty damn big broadcasting concern, I can tell you. And so we began to make some inquiries today, and we talked to Tito's rep, who said, no, you'll have to talk to NASA. Okay, fair enough. So we talked to NASA, and they give us the phone number of a Russian guy. Now, we might be able to do it that way, although I'm hearing rumors now that there may be something in his contract saying he can't do anything commercial from the space station. Now, I don't know what that means. Does that mean he can't endorse Wheaties or something? Or does that mean that he can't do an interview with a broadcasting concern? maybe he can't do it. Who knows? But if we did ever pull it off, we would have to. It would be almost like an email conversation. We'd have to have a landline from here to Russia, probably satellite actually, with all the lag time, and then of course up to space again, and the question arrives and they answer, and then it goes back down again, back up to another satellite, back down to the U.S., and we get the answer. Almost there'd be such a delay having to go through Russia. It would be kind of annoying, but I would, of course, take the opportunity and do it anyway. But it could be so much easier if our own organization, supported by taxpayers, NASA, would allow it to occur. But not to Tito. Only to approved astronauts. Not to Tito, an American citizen who's up there. Most of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi. Oh, push the button. Most of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hello, this is Mark.
Hello, Mark.
And I bounced around about 5 or 6 channels here on the coast trying to keep up with the show. I was watching News World International about an hour and a half ago, and there was a report on a company called, I think, Exia out of New York, and they were saying that they've already cloned goats with spiders.
Yeah, I read that on the internet earlier, that they were about it. Why would they want to clone a goat and a spider?
They're male guys, the spiders still property. They say it's meteor-proof for space.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, the person was showing the goats. They didn't actually show them like milking them and making the spider web, but they were showing the DNA, and they were saying that here, this part's the spider contribution.
The spider.
Glad you're back, man.
I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
We're headed down some strange places with all of this. You got to admit, that's a pretty strange combination. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hi.
Yes.
Turn your radio off, please.
Yes. On the Bible, we're here on Washington, and just wanted to ask you if you would ask your guest tonight. Major Gaines had talked at one time about the differences when he was talking about Lucifer and Satan and about you might want to ask your guest about the fact that if he happens to be in the same place at the same time, or he's actually here on Earth doing his thing.
Well, let's see what he has to say. I'd rather not prejudice his answer in any way. I'd soon hear his story in detail. I've never heard anybody really say, other than Sarah, who got pretty close, or perhaps got a glimpse, but I've never heard anybody else talk about hell. This is going to be a first.
Are you going to have Kathleen Keaton on again?
Oh, no doubt. I'm sure we will, yes.
Well, the particular person, and I know you've asked not to say it, and I won't, but the particular person is becoming very active. And,
Oh, yeah, that person she is named as the Antichrist.
Yes, that's correct. But you would ask not to
Yes, and
use that name, and I won't.
I still would rather not, yes.
Right, and out of respect for that, I won't.
Thank you. It's not hard to find. Look, people on phone, they go on the
Right,
internet, they'll
exactly.
figure it out.
But it's very interesting that not only is it just this particular person that you had talked to before, but now there's actual ambassadors that are talking about it too.
Oh, I'm well aware. Thank you very much. That this person is very real, and the claims made by this person. Oh, yes, I'm very aware of it. Yes, of course, we'll have Kathleen. Wildcard Line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art. This is Roger. Listen to you via the internet.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it was when you were sick, but are you going to have the head of the FCC on?
And yeah, we are going to have him on. He simply begged off for a period of time so that he could kind of get the lay of the land with the new commissioner coming in.
Okay.
So you want to, you want to understand what policy is before you try and go on the radio and talk about what it is.
Can't implement what you don't know.
Yeah, that's right. So I thought his decision was wise, and he said he would come on.
Okay. Do you have another time frame? Or?
No, not yet. I'll write to him soon. We'll find out.
Okay.
All right.
That'll be sure.
Thank you. East of the Rockies, you're on the air.
On me?
Yes, on you. Turn your radio off, please, dear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
On May 1st, you had someone by the name of Alan. I didn't get the last name.
Mesher.
Mesher?
Yes.
And I didn't get all his number. I got 3100, but I didn't get the first two numbers.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I don't have that info here. Your best shot is the website. It'll still have all the information on it.
And I heard somebody speaking about the Challenger.
Yes.
There was a young man who was doing research on the Challenger before it went up, and he told all the powers that be that not to send up the Challenger because the rings could not withstand the cold temperature.
Oh, I know. There was a great big investigation about the whole thing. I'm very, very well aware of it. Obviously, meetings about that at NASA. And you know, it's funny, I've watched a lot of launches since, and a lot of them have scared me because if you remember the video of the Challenger, and you remember the flames that were licking around, you remember that? I've seen that on subsequent flights, and I've gone, oh, man. But I guess it's okay, and you know, people see things, but it very much looked like the same sort of flame to me that was certainly the problem, and they showed in great detail in the Challenger footage just prior to the explosion. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Yes, hi Art.
Hi.
This is Reba in Caldwell.
Hi there.
Well, since you're talking about the Challenger, I thought I'd add something here. Dick Scobie, when he was very young, taught me how to ride a bike.
No kidding.
Yeah, I was living up in Martin, and his grandfather was on the section crew for the railroad.
Well, riding bikes is the first time is a very serious matter indeed.
Oh, it was.
I remember myself. So
Now, I have a question.
yes.
How's it going with getting Shirley MacLaine on?
Well, I don't know. I actually haven't tried yet.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure we'll get her on. I mean, I think she was on not too long before I left.
Yeah, she was.
So we'll get her on again.
And be sure to ask her about her saving seeds, please.
Saving seeds. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Yeah, hi, my name's Al, truck driver, a new listener, a new caller, first-time caller. Wanted to ask you a question about the chemtrails. Never caught the tail end about it, and I've been noticing them also myself.
Well, what kind of question would you ask?
Well, I really got turned on to your show maybe about a couple of months maybe, and I never caught the tail end of the chemtrails other than I started looking out for them. I live up at the Superior by Victorville. I'm a truck driver. I travel all around. And I did notice them. In Superior, we have clean, nice air up there. And just like your callers mentioned that by the afternoon, it's real gloomy out there and horrible.
Gloomy and hazy, right?
Yeah.
After. Yep.
Yeah, and then one time I was up in Hayward, California, and I was up there for about 5 hours, and I noticed it was a clean sky in the morning, and then by the mid-afternoon, I saw all the chemtrails up there, and then it started getting really ugly looking. And as I drove away, I'm coming down the 5, and I stopped and I looked, and you could just see overhead, this horrible gloom over the skies. Have you found out what's going on yet?
No, absolutely not. The latest theory, I think the most accepted present theory is that there's weather control, that they're trying to do something to correct what they see as a deteriorating situation with the weather.
I see. Now, 3 things I did notice. One time I was coming back from San Diego and going through out there by Temecula, and it was at night, and I started noticing these chemtrails, and it was a clear night. Now, the 3 occasions, so the next, in Hayward, I noticed that the following day there was rain there.
Sir, we're coming to the end of the show here.
Okay.
Anyway, the first hour of the show, so I've got to scoot.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, I did notice rain after the following day out of those 3 occurrences. I just wanted to let you know that.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's a great show. Thank you.
Take care, my friend. We're going to have the Reverend Howard Storm is up and coming. He's back in Kentucky. His Reverend for the Zion United Church of Christ. I will tell you more about him in a moment, but basically, he went to hell. He was an atheist, and he went to hell, and you just don't get to hear very many descriptions of what hell is like, ever. I don't think we ever have. Not really. Well, he says he's got one.
At Chamberlain University, we know what those eons mean, but how to prepare a nurse to meet them. We know because we're the #1 largest nursing school in the U.S. To answer the call, visit chamberlain.edu. Chamberlain University. Belong to something greater. Certified to operate by Chef.
Well, in a way, I've been waiting to do this interview for a long time, maybe all my life. I've never had anybody describe hell to me, and that's what Reverend Storm says he can do. Again, he is a reverend for the Zion United Church of Christ in Norwood, Ohio. He has a BFA from San Francisco Art Institute in 1969, an MA from the University of California at Berkeley in 1970, MFA, University of California, Berkeley, 72, MDIB, United Theological Seminary, 1992. So it was the MFA in 72 and the Theological Seminary in 92. Ordination, June 14th of 92, United Church of Christ. Was employed by the Northern Kentucky University as a professor of art, 1972 to 92, so that was a long career. Coordinator or chairperson of art department for 7.5 years. And then the Zion United Church of Christ pastoring from 1992 to present. He's made all kinds of television appearances and radio, I would presume. He was an art professor and an atheist. And welcome, Reverend.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the air with us. I guess I would just have you tell your story. You were an atheist in the purest sense of the word at one time?
Yeah, I probably around 16 or 17 years old gave up on religion. Completely gave up on it when I went to college.
Any reason why?
It seemed pointless that, they're talking about being good all the time.
You couldn't be good all the time.
Well, that was probably that was probably when you're 16 and raging hormones and stuff. My interests were different than singing church, singing hymns.
I understand.
Kind of boring.
Right.
And silly. And then I just, as I went to college and stuff, came to realize at the time, my point of view, that I was being deceived, that there was no afterlife, there was no heaven or hell, there was no God, and the stories in the Bible were all
Stories.
Yeah, just stories. And that the reality was the scientific truth of the world, and that we were just biochemical organisms who had these short, pathetic little lives. The point of life was to have as much fun as possible. And
Which I guess you were endeavoring to do, huh?
yeah, I was in San Francisco in 67 to 72 area. That seemed to be like the right place to be at the right time. Really experienced.
You had a long career in art, didn't you?
Yes.
What sort of, you were a professor of art, so you taught art.